Hello, my name is John Reynolds. Welcome to Extraordinary Life Stories. On this episode, I'm talking with Laura Hamilton. Laura is a successful businesswoman and the presenter of popular TV programme, A Place in the Sun. Beyond her television career, Laura has established herself as a savvy entrepreneur, launching several successful business ventures that reflect her passion for home and lifestyle, including the much-loved kitchen range Blanco. I'm really looking forward to talking with Laura, so let's get into it. Laura, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I've been really looking forward to this.
Oh, so am I.
I feel really
lucky.
lucky.
What to expect?
Oh, let's find out. I feel lucky to have you here because you're typically out of the country and so busy.
Well, I am. I do travel a lot. Typically every other week I am abroad filming, but saying that, I have taken a little bit of time off from filming because I've been doing other projects.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
Projects.
Yeah, you're super busy, so thank you. Tell me, who is Laura Hamilton?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? I would say that there's quite a bit more to me than people probably realise. I've obviously been part of A Place in the Sun for 12, coming on 13 years now, and I think it's very easy for people to watch that and kind of go, okay, well, she's the girl who goes abroad, she's always in the sun, wearing pretty dresses in lovely destinations.
The dream job, right?
It is a dream job, I'm not going to lie. But that is just one small part of my life. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur from a very early age, probably as early as 7 years old, 8 years old, when I decided to try and convince my brother that we would set up a car washing business. But in order to do that, this is a really bad thing to say, when the ice cream man came along, I said, right, we'll buy a 99 ice cream, we'll wipe it on some of the cars, and then we'll knock on people's doors and say, your car's dirty, it needs to what? Be cleaned.
I love it. You're creating your opportunity.
I also had another little business idea where I'd make potpourri. So I would go along the street and pick people's rose petals from their garden, take them back to my mum's airing cupboard, dry the petals, bag them up in little plastic bags, tie ribbons around them, and then sell them back to them.
Brilliant.
I mean, this entrepreneurial, that's where it all began.
You're using your environment well.
And
right?
then also, like my mum and dad used to do boot sales occasionally. We'd go and do boot sales, and I said to my parents, right, what I'm going to do is set up a little hair braiding stall. So do you remember, like, you go on holiday and you have the...
My daughters love all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I taught myself how to do that. I mean, I was probably like 12, 13. And I said to my mum and dad, right, you sell your stuff. I'm going to have my little stall here. I'm going to do hair braiding for people. I earned more money doing hair braids for people at the boot sale than they did selling our old job, 12 or 13.
That's sales skills though, right?
I don't even know where that came from, but I do have a very entrepreneurial spirit. I love music, I love theatre, and that comes from my dad was a womble. He was Uncle Bulgaria in the Wombles and a drummer. So I used to, age 15, be with him singing in bands. So yeah, and I'm a mum, of course. I've got 2 gorgeous children. I love travel, I love adventure, and I'm a bit of a daredevil.
I love that. And where does school fit into this? Because there's so much there that's almost like a self-education and a learning from being around your parents and so on. And it's a loaded question because so much of what you have gone on and done and the entrepreneurial side of you is not taught in school.
Absolutely. And I find that's a really, really interesting arena, probably, like school, because my children do go to a lovely school. They're very, very lucky to go where they go to, and it's costing us quite a lot of money to go there. I wasn't privileged to go to a private school. However, I would say that if I hadn't experienced the school life that I did, I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Made you more resilient?
Yeah, I mean, I went to, it wasn't a bad school, but I definitely went to a school where I had to find my way and fight my way through. I was very headstrong, very determined. And there weren't many people in the year group. It was quite a biggish school. There weren't many people in the year group that had that same mindset. And so you kind of got pulled down or, bullied or judged by having that attitude. And I think that because I dealt with that, as I've gone on to do the job that I've done and I'm exposed to, perhaps trolling sometimes or negativity in the press, when I read negative things about myself, I just think, oh, whatever, like I'm staying in my lane, I'm focusing on me, I'm not going to worry about that. And I do think that resilience comes from my younger years when I had to kind of be strong and push on through and do what I, was focused on doing and not be brought down by any negativity around me. And that's hard. And I don't really know where that comes from. I mean, I do listen to various podcasts and inspirational people that they say, don't listen to the naysayers. And I feel like that's just always been I've had to learn very quickly to do that. And then that's why I don't listen to negativity now.
It's brilliant. It's proper confidence. And actually it's really tricky in today's world because I say today's world, the whole social media side of things wasn't prevalent when we were growing up, and we've got our own kids growing up in that now, and dealing with what could end up being, in your instance, particularly as a public figure, 1,000 comments on something. I'm talking about specifically social media here, that are positive, and then one negative one. It's amazing how many people I speak to and know focus on the one, the two, the three negative and get consumed by that. And yet, you obviously have managed to, it's probably a habit forming.
I do delete. I mean, look, I'm not going to say stuff doesn't affect me, or I don't, think, oh, wow, that's a bit harsh, because sometimes it does. I don't know what triggers it. I mean, another thing that I did in my life 8 years ago is I bought the local village shop. I became the local postmistress, and I created a coffee shop, deli and a restaurant, and built a brand within my community. And I ran that business remotely and managed the staff. We had 24 in total.
That's enough for some people just to do. The people who are watching, listening, wouldn't even know that, let alone all the other things we're going to cover, right?
Yeah. So
what was the driver behind opening that? Do you love? You mentioned community, right? Feels like you're a really sociable person.
The driver behind creating that, and I was going to get onto a bit of negativity around that as well, and that's what led me to it. But the driver behind doing that was I saw an opportunity, a business opportunity. First and foremost, I was like, wow, like this is a building that, because it wasn't just a commercial space to develop, it was also a flat and a house. It's like a
property
split,
development element.
Property development and creating this business. And I saw that as, a great opportunity. But I also thought, I want to give something back. I want to give something back to the community. I want to employ local people, both young and old. I want to create a destination that estate agents in the area can talk about in their marketing material when they're selling a property. Go to Lord Roberts on the Green, this is the destination. And it worked. It absolutely worked. And I'd say 95% of the people in the community loved it. 5% of the people in the immediate vicinity hated it because it was busy, it brought traffic, and they didn't like it, this new little thing on their doorstep. They couldn't see hang on a minute, look at the positivity this is doing for the local market. The properties that are selling at a bit more of a premium now because people have got a destination to go to. But I let that 5% of people get to me, particularly in COVID, because in COVID, instead of shutting the shop, which a few people in my immediate circle said to me, we've got to close it, we can't run it in COVID. I was like, absolutely not. We're going to push through COVID. We're going to turn it back into the village shop. We're going to deliver to the community. I want to do a takeaway service, and we'll make it work, which we did.
Proper entrepreneurial pivoting, right? I just love it. And some people would just go, oh, it's a service.
I see it as a challenge, and I think this is the way I approach lots of things in life. If something happens and someone says to me, you can't do it, it just spurs me on and makes me think, do you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to do this. We're going to get it right, and it's going to work. Even if I don't know how, I'll figure it out along the way. So the shop carried, we carried through COVID, it all worked. But I did read some negativity online on a particular website at the time. I think it was called Nextdoor. And some local people started being quite personal about me and saying, oh, why do you call your daughter that stupid name? She'll never be able to spell it. And I thought, what on earth has this actually got to do with a business in the community? And I just thought, this is just spite. This is just people being nasty and spiteful. And if you don't have anything nice to say, just stay in your box and just keep it to yourself. Like, really? Like, why? And I truly believe that people just do that because they're not happy within themselves, that they have to feel the need to try and bring somebody down. And I did let it get to me, but I just thought, you know what? One day there'll come a point where I'm going to sell this business because I'm not going to do it forever, because nothing that I've done in terms of property development is forever. You know, I buy a property, I renovate it, I get it to a point where I love it and I enjoy it, but I also sell it on at a point when someone else can take it to the next level. And I thought that is going to happen one day with this shop. And when it does, whoever buys it or whatever happens, these people will then have something to complain about. Because right now, me living in this community, I care what it is. If someone comes along and buys it that doesn't live in the community and actually doesn't really care, they'll change the business in a way that you're going to have something to complain about. And look, the lady that bought the business, she's made it her own, but obviously she's doing things that are upsetting the community. And now those people are regretting what they did, because they're like, why?
They didn't know what they had.
Yeah, you know, so people just...
You can't please everyone, right? I mean,
but
it's just that whole, what's clear, and I guess a big part of what you do, particularly with the media and the TV side of things, is you've probably learnt to deal with rejection. You've learned to deal with failure. Yeah. But it's just so...
I never see it as failure.
I was going to bring that up. You learn from everything, right?
Absolutely. Like, you know, I've tried to set up various brands previously, built businesses, kind of thought, oh, there's a gap in the market for that. Hasn't quite worked, hasn't taken off. I've not really figured out how to do it right. But then I think, okay, that doesn't mean I've failed. That means I'm going to try again. And now I've learned what I've learned from that. I'll make sure it's right next time.
Invaluable.
In the same way, you know, when it comes to marriage, it really upsets me that people go, oh, well, you know, someone's got married and then they've got divorced. It's been a failure. It's absolutely not a failure at all. Like, you know, I look at my marriage and think, I've got 2 beautiful children. Nothing can be more successful than that. Like,
that's
I would
want
anyone else to be their dad, because if they were, they wouldn't be who they are. And I definitely don't see it as a failure. I think actually this is great. We've got 2 parents that can co-parent, and as long as your children are happy, then that's the most important thing at all. And I've had negativity where people have said to me, or written online, oh yeah, well, your marriage didn't work out because you're never in the country. And my
that's not their business.
I think I read a comment that somebody said, and this was following something from my podcast, somebody said, oh, the reason why your marriage has failed is because you're not in the country. I'm proud of my son who's married a woman who's always around, always looking after him, and yeah, never goes away. And I thought, wow, okay, interesting. My way of being a wife or being a mum is, you know, I want to be a role model to my kids. I'm not saying that being a stay-at-home mum is a bad thing, because absolutely it's not. You know, we've all got our own paths that we want to follow. But for me, I was like, right, well, I love my job. I want my career to continue. I want to show my children that they can do what I've done, or, you know, just learn from me. And it is a juggle. It's a bloody juggle, to be fair.
I don't know how you, I mean, I'm going to ask you that separately, but I've got 2 daughters, right, 13, 14. And a massive why behind Extraordinary Life Stories, and talking literally to yourself today, is that there is a role model, and there are role models in the entrepreneurial world for girls to aspire to be. Because I think the stats under 2% of funding, particularly from VCs, it goes to female founders. So the balance is way out of kilter. And I just wonder how much of that is actually girls not actually being inspired to go into entrepreneurial side of things, because there aren't enough role models out there. Because I think it's more, I don't think it's a male bias. I know many people, in fact, ultimately tracking back about 4 people to how we've been connected. Female founder Nadine Marabi. She's backed by Steve Hewitt, who was the CEO for Gymshark. Yeah. He's looking for trailblazing female founders because they're brilliant, they're formidable, and they need support.
Yeah, well, that's
but I wonder
really
how much
interesting.
It is, because I just wonder whether it's the traditional element that stops. So that you being that role model and actually knowing you're that role model is really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I do find that interesting. I mean, I have spoken to various mums who have given up their careers whilst they've been bringing up their children. Look, I will be completely honest and say I have been in an incredibly fortunate situation that when I turn around to my employer, Place in the Sun, and I told them that I was having a baby, their immediate response was, well, great. have the baby and bring the baby with you whilst you work.
Brilliant.
You know, what employer kind of does that? You know, it was like, right, okay, you bring along your mum or whoever to help support you when you're filming. But I went
feels
back
quite rare in the TVs.
Incredibly
and actually,
rare.
Watching a few things building up to talking to you today, there was a social post you put out where you said people often ask who's behind the camera, and your daughter's behind. I thought that was brilliant, and that touched me because I'd like to do it with my girls, but you're doing that.
Yeah.
And they're watching mum in her role.
Yeah, no, so they've travelled with me since they were 3 weeks old, both of my children. So when I had Rocco at 3 weeks, this was absolutely crazy actually. So Rocco was born by cesarean section. Not planned to be, but I ended up in labour, and after 5 hours in labour they told me he was breech and that I had to have an emergency cesarean section. So what went from a very calming hypnobirth experience in a birthing pool very quickly went, oh my God, give me drugs now, I need the gas and air. And I was in the theatre and I was having an emergency cesarean section. But do you know what I thought? He's fine, I'm fine, you know, whatever, it is what it is. And I got back home day after he was born, and I received a call 2 weeks after from a casting friend of mine who was booking people on The Jump, the Channel 4 series, The Jump, ski jumping show. And he said, hi Laura, you all right? I was like, yeah, all good, in my baby bubble right now, you know, just had Rocco. And madly enough, and this is just like so mad, a bit of the story that I skipped, as soon as Rocco was born, because he was cesarean section, I ended up in this room and he was asleep, and I was on the phone to the passport office booking an appointment to get him a passport. He was literally hours old. And his dad went to me, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I know I'm going to be going back to a place in the sun in like 6 weeks' time. So I need to make sure that I've got a passport because the application's process or whatever, so I just want to get, and he's like, oh my God, is that seriously what you're thinking about? I'm like, yeah, because I know that I want him he's going to be travelling with me, so this is what we've got to do. Anyway, so I got the appointment, and it was like, right, okay, you're going to have to get your baby to, you know, passport photos. So there's this, like, a few weeks later, there's this little baby laying on this beanbag having a passport photo. And I'd got this call like 2 weeks after from this casting producer, The Jump, and I was like, okay, what about The Jump? And he said, well, we need a reserve on the show. I said, what do you mean, like a reserve? He said, well, we've got the series is cast and it's going to be going out. This was in November. He was born in November. The series was going out on air in January, but we need a reserve just because if anyone pulls out or any accidents, we've got a backup. And I just went, well, that's great, like amazing. What, you want me to be the reserve? And he was like, well, yeah. And I said, but you do know that I just had like a cesarean section, and the rules are you're not really supposed to like drive 6 weeks after a cesarean. Like, where are we going with this? And he said, well, look, if you pass the medical and everything will be, it sounds really irresponsible, but it wasn't, I promise you. If you pass the medical, and obviously we won't have you ski jumping, but you're happy to kind of ski training like 4 weeks after having him. You can bring him with you. Will you do it? And I went, absolutely, yes. Where's my medical? And he was like, have you got a passport for your child? I was like, funnily enough.
Of course I do.
Yes, we've already got that sorted. Now, Rocco's dad is an insurance broker, so his first thing was
managing risk.
You ain't getting insured. And I was like, watch me. So I ended up having my medical, passed the medical, and 4 weeks after he was born, we were in Austria, my mum, Rocco, and I was with the cast of The Jump. And there I was. But I have skied since I was 9. So I'm quite a competent skier.
Yeah.
And I just thought, this is great. I'm basically getting back in shape after having a baby and, you know, training on this show. And the hotel room, my room was next door to Nikki Clark, the hairdresser. And I was like trying to get like Rocco into a routine, and I was breastfeeding and, you know, doing my mummy stuff. And then my mum would look after him for a few hours when I would go off and ski, and then I'd come back. But I was breastfeeding. So what I'd need to do is like breast pump the milk. So when I went off and did my skiing, my mum would be able to like feed him. So in the middle of the night, I'd have this like breast pumping machine, like making this noise. And I just remember one morning at breakfast coming down and Nikki Clark saying to me, I don't know what is going on in the room next door to me, but there is some weird noise. and I was like, oh, that'd be my breast pump. And he was like, what?
That's funny.
So I went back to work like pretty quickly with Rocco and pretty quickly with Talia. She came to Mallorca. So when she was 3 weeks old, I had literally Rocco, the 17 months between the two of them, away with me, traveling the world. And I've known no different. So people say, oh, how do you travel with children? Well, I just did it.
Yeah.
I just did it. I mean, I've got photos with me with one on the front and then one on the back. I used to travel with a lot of stuff, but over the years, I've definitely perfected, like, no, you don't need to take stuff. You can just
you've had the experience, right? You've had so much,
keep it
so much travel.
And I say travel is amazing for kids. They've seen, Rocco and Talia have seen me working, you know, they've experienced different cultures, different foods, different languages, and they've got some really good skills already. You know, they're great skiers, they're great swimmers, they're confident, they can speak a little bit of Spanish, not lots.
There's culture there, and actually, you know, being travelled makes you interesting. It makes you interested in the world, in life.
But you see, you get negativity from. I've had negativity. People go, oh, it's not, you know, but your children are all over the place. There's no stability, and I'm like, no, I'm the stable.
But you're so driven, right? It's like infectious. Like you've got such a positive vibe, right? And so you are making these things work. You know, even that COVID story with the cafe. You know, it's like I'm gonna find a way. And if you've got that mindset, then everyone else can kind of do one, right? And actually, the education and the experiences you're giving your kids. We've taken our kids without it being a role in my life. It's been a priority. Mm-hmm. And by default, they've learned to ski really well. The girls learned to water ski when they were 4 years old in Barbados, we were talking earlier. And that's actually tapping into physical exercise. That's tapping into then helping their mindset and overcoming challenges. So, question to you, that love of travel that gives you all the experience you've had that you're passing on to your kids, how have you kind of almost sort of managed to keep physically fit amongst such a busy schedule, and how you prioritise your own mental kind of fitness and mental health?
Oh dear. I mean, look, I think I very much just stay in my lane. Particularly,
you have quite a wide lane though.
but as in like mentally,
cool.
I absolutely, like I say, don't listen to the naysayers. We've got one life to live, and I really believe like live it. I try not to worry too much now about what people think, and I've had people in my close circle that even recently I've heard say and do things, and I think, really? Okay, but I just think maybe they just don't have enough going on in their lives that they have to be too busy to try and say things about me. But I'm like, I can't, like, I just block it out and I don't listen. Sometimes I don't even watch or listen to the news, and I know that's really bad, but I've stopped it. I find it just really like negative. So sometimes I just think I live in my own little bubble, and I think that's the way I deal with like the mental health side of things and keeping positive, because I think I'm a happy, positive person. And if I just stay in my little bubble and I surround myself, it's all about, I think, surrounding yourself with your team, your crew, people who have the same mindset as you, that want to lift you up and celebrate you, not bring you down. Like they aren't people that you want in your circle. And if you surround yourself with that positivity and people that are going the same direction as you, then important. From a mental health point of view, I think we're all lifting each other up. We're all inspiring. And I find it blows my mind, particularly with women. And I say that as a woman, why so many women have to try and bring other women down.
Is that jealousy though?
I've no
idea.
I mean, I'd say as you get older, I love it. I love it now. I've got so many like women friends in the industry that celebrate each other. You know, there's room for everyone. We're all different, and there is room for everyone. There are opportunities for everyone, and nothing gives me more pleasure than helping the other women in my circle that they do similar things to me, but as I said, they're different. So like Jasmine Harmon, for example, who is a presenter from A Place in the Sun. Really interestingly, Jasmine's done the show longer than I have, but when she said to me, Laura, I'm going to relocate abroad permanently, she came to me and asked me advice on where she should relocate to. And I was like, wow, but you've been doing the show. But she was like, yeah, but I want to know from your point of view.
So you got good perspective though, so much
and
experience.
I helped her, and I was like, look, okay, this is a really good school for the kids to go to. I was the first person that went to visit her when she relocated in her house abroad. And so like we're there for each other. She's now renovating a house abroad. I'm now renovating a house abroad. We're constantly on the phone to each other going, oh my God, like, do you know about this permit or this license or whatever? And interestingly, with that one, Jazz and I support each other, are there for each other. So much actually, so that there's loads of things that people wouldn't have even seen behind the scenes, because we don't need to put all of our friendship out there, we're too busy to. But somebody decided to comment on social media when I put a post out actually about two other women, another presenter from A Place in the Sun, Danny, who's moved to LA, and a friend of mine who's in Dubai. And I thought, I wanted to put a post out to say, if you want to make a change in your life, be bold, be brave, go for it. And these two women have. And obviously Jazz has made this change in her life. Now, because I didn't mention Jazz in that social post, a woman decided to comment on Jazz's social media to say, I can't believe Laura's mentioned these two other women, but she hasn't mentioned you.
That's gaslighting, isn't it?
Exactly. But why? Why do it? But it's somebody trying to pit two women against each other to bring them down. It's like, no. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
let's lift each other up. Let's celebrate each other.
Yeah.
Men, women, whoever we are. Like, let's
You've got to be around like-minded people, right?
The great, yeah.
Yeah.
And coming back to the role model thing, I've had lots of mum friends that have been full-time mums, left their jobs, and then they're trying to get back into industry or business again. And that is tough. Like, that is tough if you've come away. So although I could say, oh, my life might sound chaotic, I would say it's organised chaos. And it is a juggle. Actually, I had the children and they fitted in with my life, and I've carried on with my life. Whereas I think for me, it probably wouldn't have worked to kind of give all of my career up, be a full-time mum, and then try and come back into my career again. I just personally couldn't have done it. Some people obviously can, but I just couldn't.
But I find that inspiring, and I think that you've proven it's working. I mean, if we look at today, you're filming with me today, you're presenting the social media awards last night. You know, there's so much to you outside of that. You started that as a conversation, right? You know, so much more than A Place in the Sun. There's all the presenting, there's the TV side of things, there's the Mile Fly Club, your podcast, right? I mean, you fit all this in, and you're proving complete concept that you are juggling. I have no idea how you are juggling being a mum, single mum, and all the entrepreneurial side of things, but you're clearly flourishing from it.
As I said, you're here once. Life is an adventure. And I do have a motto, and I know we don't really want to swear in it, but my motto is get shit done, basically. And I've even got a bit of artwork in my house that says that with the eye upside down.
I saw it on the property renovation you did. You posted about it, and again, check it. And that was a stunning property, UK-based one. And I saw that artwork, and it made me smile. And I thought that's a good way of summing you up.
I mean, I would say that I can cram a lot in a day. It's time management. If you manage your time well, and we touched on this briefly, if one small thing goes wrong in your day, and that might be a delayed train or something happens with the kids, always with the kids. Like, so for example, on Monday of this week, I had the World Child Awards in the evening. So I ran the marathon for World Child, which is a charity I'm an ambassador of and have supported for a number of years, and really amazing charity. But I had the World Child Awards, and sometimes for like special events, I decide to use a stylist to get my outfit right or have my makeup and hair done, which is a real treat. Like it really is. Because I just don't have time to do it all the time. Obviously, I'm paying for it as well. So I had that done on Monday, and I kind of thought, right, do you know what? I had the normal life stuff. The hygienist in the morning at 8:30 over in Cobham. Then I had to dash back, and then I did something else. I'm sure I did because I squeezed stuff in. Then the makeup artist turns up. But in between those two things, also the makeup artist turns up at 12 o'clock. So in the morning before, I did a wardrobe detox. That's what I did with a stylist. So I did that for 2 hours. Then the makeup artist turns up. But in between all of this, the school contacted to say, your son Roccos got his sports assessment tomorrow. It's like a scholarship thing. And he hasn't got his cricket kit, and he needs this and this and this and various bits and pieces. Now, although we say I'm a single mum, I do co-parent my children with their dads. So I don't want to say that they're with me full time, because we share, which I think is so important, like so important, that even though myself and my children's dad aren't together, we both have an influence and in their lives, and it's great. So they were with their dad, and this week, and I of course have all the sports kits. So the school were like, right, can you drop it up? So I'm like, okay, just in between getting the makeup done, I've got to get it, but I got it there.
Multitasking.
So that's what I mean. It just these little things, and then you lose half an hour, and then that has a knock-on effect. But I do tend to cram a lot into a day. Sometimes I get to the end of the day and think, was that
yesterday?
What I did this morning? Did I do that yesterday? Or
what day is it?
Was that 2 days ago? But I cram so much in, so much so, because the other question people ask me is, like, do you ever sleep? How much do you sleep? When my head hits that pillow, I'm out. I don't.
And when is that? I'm interested because I'm spinning a few plates and multitasking, but I'm going to bed far too late. I know how important sleep is, and this goes back to that sort of looking after your mental health and so on. And I know I should be in bed by a certain time, but I'm pushing midnight every night.
It depends for me. It really does depend.
Like last night, presenting an awards thing, right? So and then you got passport office this morning at the American embassy, right? And then you're with me, and goodness knows whatever else, right?
Yeah. Do you know there are times when I look at my diary and I'm like, oh my word, I've got this. And then I look and I go, okay, but I'm getting on a flight then. So I've got 4 hours that I'll just be able to do nothing on that flight. And being on a flight a short haul flight is generally quite good.
Yeah.
Because you've got no internet connection. You can either just listen to a book or read a book or a podcast or whatever.
I imagine that's valuable time to you. Because that's kind of what, when I was asking earlier, kind of what do you do to keep physically fit? You mentioned the marathon. You clearly keep fit. Do you prioritise gym time? Do you prioritise time, or do you just find that you're just charging around at 1,000 miles an hour? And so
there is an element of charging around at 1,000 miles an hour for sure, or 1,000,000 miles an hour, and so that definitely, I'm sure that running around doing that definitely keeps me burning a few calories.
100%.
But I love doing a workout. Being in the gym. I've got a little home gym. I do go to the gym. I'll go to David Lloyd Gym, which I love. They've got a spa there, which is, I think, really important. It is so important too, even though it's go, have some downtime. So tonight, I've got that down. I'm going to the
sitting
spa.
here now, how crazy the week's been. Know that you've got.
And
I'm like that.
It has been this week pretty crazy.
Do you put things in?
But I know it's not always like that. No. Well, it is always busy, but it's not always. I've done a lot of events recently. I've had, some red carpet events. I've had charity events, hosting events. I've got another one this weekend. September can generally be quite a busy month. I mean, I know we've come into October now, but September, October can be quite a busy month. And then I know that what my schedule is up until January. I'm filming in America, hence I've been at the US Embassy this morning getting my visa for that. Fitting it in.
But I can tell but you are. That's the thing. You make time for yourself, the spa.
Notes. I write notes in my phone.
Yeah, that works for me.
That's how I keep organised.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of content that I'm trying to create at the moment because I've developed a new website, which
It's just another one of your. What do
well,
you enjoy?
I've got a team that are helping me do that.
Being a mum aside, because it's a big part of all the things you do, professionally, if you like, entrepreneurially, what do you enjoy the most? So if I had stripped back all the things you're doing, Mile Fly Club and so on, because that's quite new, right? But
the Mile Fly Club's the podcast.
But there's Place in Sun, there's the presenting, there's the property renovations, there's the website you just set up. There's other things I don't even know about. If you could just do one thing,
I can't say one thing.
Yeah.
How can I think anyway? I know we talk about COVID. Feels like it was a lifetime ago now. But if that's what taught people anything, I think it's that we can't just do one thing. The thing that going back to school, because it is a really, really interesting space. And I have questioned in my head, right, well, the children at the school they're at, clearly they're very lucky and very privileged, but are they going to have the resilience that I had? Because they're not going through, I hope they don't go through what I went through. I don't want them to experience that. But I do want them to have resilience. I do want them to be tough. I do want them to find their way in the world. And actually, it's really important to me that if they don't get all A stars in their exams, that's not the be all and end all. School isn't everything. Some of the most successful people left school at 15, or younger. And, I find that incredibly inspirational. I love the fact when I speak to people now and they're like, yeah, our children don't go to school. We're homeschooling them whilst we're traveling the world. And I'm like, yes. What
an education that is, especially if the parents are teaching them all the things, let alone the life experiences, all the things that you don't get taught in school, like you were learning from the boot sales and so on. You just touched on success and the whole education curriculum.
I just don't want to follow the prescription.
No, I don't. I mean, I haven't told you this.
I don't want to follow the
prescription.
prescription.
Our youngest, Summer, is homeschooling.
Yeah, great.
Because we could just see that the school system was totally uninspiring to her. She was getting into trouble for things that we wouldn't be telling. We talked about ADHD earlier and so on, this whole kind of behavioural side of things. But the success from a school point is you've got to pass your exams.
Yeah, that's
what they work. So then go and get a job. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get a job.
I don't want to talk down schools because
no.
I don't want my kids thinking, oh great, Mum just says we don't have to bother.
It works for some people. If you're academic, right? If you're going to be a doctor, then you're going to go the route. But many people are not academic. I wasn't, so I got very disenchanted and unmotivated at school. And very misunderstood as I enjoyed my sport and stuff, but just going to learn physics and maths, I was like, I don't feel like I'm going to be doing this in my life. But I also
think that it actually does depend on you as parents, because if one parent is very much pro school and then the other parent is thinking, oh, actually no, let's be a bit more open to. It's like you've got to find that balance that both parents are going to be happy.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, if I had my time again with my kids, would I have said to them, "Oh my word, let's just travel the world and learn on the road"? Maybe, who knows? But they're there where they are and they're really happy, and that to me is the most important
thing. And it's working for you.
I don't want them to just think, if I don't get the grades, I want them to work hard and, as best to their ability as they can, but I also want them to be happy, but I want them to realise it's not the be all and end all. I didn't pass my 11 plus, or I narrowly missed the 11 plus to go to a grammar school. And I remember being really disappointed at the time, thinking, oh, great, well, I've got to grammar school, so does that mean the end of things for me? Well, no, I was 11 and I stayed at a school and I thrived doing all their theatre productions. And then I got to, I think it was year 9, and I had the option of, do I leave now to go to a grammar school? And I didn't. And one of the teachers, I never ever forget this, pulled me aside and said, Laura, if you stay at this school, you are a big fish in a little pond. If you go to a grammar school, you're just going to be like a fish swimming along with everyone else. And I was like, wow, that's a bit of a weird statement to make. And I didn't really want to be like a fish swimming along with everyone else. But at the same time, I was thinking, well, you're basically just saying everyone else here is a small fish. But it's really stuck in my mind. Another teacher actually said to me, I don't know why you do all this drama stuff, because you'll never make it anywhere. And interestingly, he was someone who had wanted to break it and make it as an actor and
Jealousy.
tried Hollywood and and I
so
thought,
much of it comes...
I'm like 15. Why are you saying that to me? But yeah, it definitely, all these little nuggets, these little comments that people say, if you've got it in you, that mindset of, do you know what? Screw you, I'm going to do this. That was another thing I said, screw it and do it. Yeah.
Almost like that spurred you on. These people that have almost sort of called you out and it's like, I'm going to show you. And sitting here now, right, there's a glow about you. And I don't mean that in any arrogance. Like, there are things you've done. There are milestones. There's things that you can count as really successful. And I want to know what your definition of success is right now.
Being happy, for me, is successful. It's not about financial all the time. Look, I mean, I know a lot of people see success as being rich or whatever because, I think if you've got money, you can have financial freedom, then fab. It allows you to do a lot of things. But having money doesn't necessarily make you happy. For me...
It takes maturity to get to that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
maybe a younger Laura would have been so aspirational to break into the TV, the media, that sort of things. And that's consuming because you have to put your heart, you have to be so fully committed to that. But sitting here now, it feels like it's a judgment now.
Yeah, I just think for me, success is I want to make my children, God, if my children can grow up to be well-rounded, happy people, doing what they love and they're passionate about, then I'll feel like I've made a success with that. And I remember my mum being sort of upset with me when I said to her, right, so I grew up in Kent, I'm going to move half an hour away to Surrey. And she was like, what? You're not going to live like at the end of our road? I was like, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. And then obviously, over the years I've travelled a lot and I joined a place in the sun and I love my mum and dad. I wouldn't be who I am without my mum and dad being who they are and what they've instilled in me. Great work ethic, very sort of unassuming or judgmental people. So I said to my mum, I'm going to be moving further away. I'm going to do this or do that. And she was kind of like a little bit upset that I wasn't going to be living a lot closer to her. And I think I don't want my children to live on my doorstep. And my mum doesn't, clearly is happy that I don't live on her doorstep now. But I don't want them to live on my doorstep. I want them to fly. You've got to give your children roots and wings.
Yeah.
And I want them to always know that I'm here for them, but I want them to go and fly and experience life and enjoy their adventure. And a lot of people, a lot of parents, I do think struggle to do that because they want to keep their kids. Yeah. And I'm like, no. And again, a lot of people might disagree with that. They might say, well, no, I want my children I want to be with them all the time. But no,
but that's it's good to encourage the children. It goes back to the earlier conversation and travelling and having new experiences. And you don't want your parents right there all the time.
No.
Well, it's probably not too natural to have that. I'm conscious of time.
Okay, well, the other thing I just want to say about success is I would love to be able to educate and inspire other people. So that's really where I'm sort of wanting to go with stuff. I want to inspire people that might be doubtful of the fact they can achieve something, and if I can maybe help inspire them in some way.
Leading by example, right?
That would be great.
Maybe a course.
Yeah,
to be
possibly.
Discussed. But I'm conscious of time, and I couldn't not sit and talk to you and ask you where your favourite place you've been around the world is.
Again, very, very difficult question to answer because there's so many cities. I'm a big skier. So many. Well,
let's do a place in the sun that's going to be more beach orientated, and then a city.
I don't switch off very easily, so as you can probably tell, the Maldives is my favourite place in the world. Not long back from there.
I think many people would agree with you on that one.
And you don't have to make it. I've actually just written some content for my website about this. You don't have to go and break the bank. There are ways in making it affordable. I would say the Maldives is one of my favourite places. Cities, I love Istanbul actually. Istanbul is a very cool place. Tel Aviv, love that. Had an incredible trip in Turkey in April this year. In fact, that was one of the most amazing experiences in Turkey. I went to Istanbul, Cappadocia, and I was skiing. So I did a city tour, I went in the balloon flights, and I skied in April in Turkey. And I did all of that in 6 days.
Wow.
So crammed a lot in. So yeah, I would say that was a fab trip.
Is there a place you've been to that you've had really high expectations of, and then for whatever reason it's just disappointed you? It's not been not been what you thought.
I don't think there is. No, I don't think there was anywhere that I visited. No, I've always been surprised. I love Sri Lanka. That's another.
I've never been to Sri Lanka. I
mean, that needs to go on your list.
Yeah, okay.
Definite place to
Where
go
have you not been that you would love to go?
Mexico. I've not been to Mexico. I have, one of my other favourite places is South Africa. My dad was born there. So that was amazing to go back to. Where else haven't I been? Mexico, Canada. Haven't done any of Canada.
Yeah.
There's still so much of the world to see. So
that's what makes it interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I said at the beginning, I feel lucky, privileged to be able to have you in between these crazy schedule of yours. Thank you for making time to talk with me, Laura.
Oh, I've loved it.
I have too.
Thank you.
Thank you.